Donald Trump looked like death at the G7 in France. It was perhaps the most embarrassing performance by any United States president at an international event ever, cognitively, physically deteriorating before our eyes, saying some of the weirdest, oddest things to world leaders and some of the most dangerous things as well. He then went to Versailles, where he signed the purported memorandum of understanding with Iran in Farsi, I might add, because we know Donald Trump speaks Farsi well, hearkening back to 1919 when the Germans signed the Treaty of Versailles, surrendering in World War I. We'll talk about that memorandum of understanding. He then returned back to Washington, D.C., where he kept on talking about the stock market and how he's pumping up the markets and how amazing everything is. And meanwhile, he's got his propagandists continuing to post these images that aren't even the real images of the reflecting pool. The reflecting pool has just turned and has turned this week this Ninja Turtle green color. And now on top of it, because they've poured so much hydrogen peroxide all over it, it's now caused the blue paint to kind of float to the top. And it looks like you have these like mutant stingrays swimming around the reflecting pool with these algae mutant stingrays. I don't even know what we're even looking at. We'll talk about that, but it is the perfect metaphor and symbolism for the Trump regime. Their cover up, their painted blue attitude, and just pretend everything is going great while the American people are suffering, while our foreign policy is in shambles, while the United States is a laughingstock to the world that Donald Trump would always accuse others of making the United States. It really is now both a horror show and a laughingstock. And we will cover this and more, as well as, thankfully, former President Obama and Michelle Obama spoke at the opening of the Obama Presidential Library, because after all of this sludge and algae and grotesque thing that is this Trump regime, it warmed my heart to remember what actual leadership looks like: decency, compassion, honor. We'll talk about that and more on this episode of the MeidasTouch podcast. Brett and Jordy, how are you guys doing?
Doing great. Good to be here, Ben. Good to be here, Jordan. Good to be here, Midas Mighty. Thank you for tuning in if you're watching live, and thank you for listening if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever audio podcast you're listening to. Thank you so much. Isn't it such a nice palate cleanser to see the Obamas out there? I mean, I think we need more of that, quite frankly. If I had one complaint about Obama, I want to see him out there more, because every time I see him, it just, he's like the, hydrogen peroxide, so to speak, wiping away the infested algae that is.
He's the nano bubbler.
He's the nano bubbler. We'll get to that in a second. But it really is just so refreshing. You're like, oh yeah, that's how United States presidents speak. That's how things are supposed to be in this country. I think the whole notion of what they're doing with the reflecting pool, as you said, Ben, it really is a metaphor for the way Trump handles quite literally everything. But I think really the most important aspect about it is that if they're willing to lie about something so inconsequential, then of course we know they're going to lie about everything, just like they have lied throughout this entire war, just like they're even lying right now. They lied about the terms of the memorandum of understanding, saying that's not what the terms are at all. And then it comes out and it's like exactly what the terms are. Like everyone's worst fears as to what was actually in this document is what was there. And then they just now try to relentlessly post online like lethality, America only wins, another victory, flawless. And it's like, you lost. Like you lost. Just like stop. Like it makes you look weak. It makes you look insecure. It makes the whole country look like a joke. I know you've already done that already, but like you're digging your hole even deeper, and everybody involved in this administration is really going to be stained by the stench of Trump and all these policies. Let's get into it. First, I got to toss it over to Jordy. Jordy, what's the latest?
Brothers, Midas Mighty, great to be here. Pumped to get into tonight's show. Benji, back to you. Where are we starting off tonight?
You know what I didn't think about before this Trump regime? Nano bubblers, treasury yields, the Strait of Hormuz, the tank loads that VLCCs can hold. I didn't think about these strategic reserves all that frequently. There are things that you take for granted because experts and people handling things with regularity and normalcy would do certain things. And so you wouldn't be thinking about, oh, how's the nano bubbler working in the reflecting pool? And whether there were issues or not issues with the reflecting pool in the past, it wasn't hoisted up as the major cause of a prior presidential administration. But this Trump regime, all they've talked about is the reflecting pool, the reflecting pool. And they used the reflecting pool to attack Obama and Biden. Their reflecting pool was disgusting, and we're going to make the greatest reflecting pool. And the same thing about the arches and the ballrooms and all of this, stuff that the American people are like, hey, hello, healthcare, please. Homes, please. Housing, affordability. What in the world are you doing? You're doing more never-ending war. Can you stop that, and can you focus on you're doing a $300 billion fund to Iran when basically you did a deal that is weaker than Obama's JCPOA deal and weaker than the deal that Oman negotiated back on February 27th before Netanyahu brought us into this unlawful and catastrophic war in the first place. Hello, what in the hell is going on? So we'll start off just by showing you this post from the Interior Department's social media account, because again, it's symbolic of everything we're going to talk about on this episode. The advanced nano bubbler technology, the Trump regime writes, very effectively killed the algae that has plagued every Lincoln reflecting pool reopening, most infamously Obama's reopening since 1922. Just pause there. We all remember the infamous Obama reopening of the reflecting pool. I know that was all on the top of everybody's mind. Do you remember the infamous reopening of Obama reflecting pool? Or you go back to the 1922 reflecting pool. No, Donald, I think people with a sense of history are more likely to remember the Treaty of Versailles signed by Germany in 1922 in Versailles than the grand opening of the 1922 reflecting pool, because I think there are certain hierarchy of world events and things that impact people. But, that's just me. Let's pull up that message one more time, because then the Trump regime says, the reflecting pool water is crystal clear, and our National Park Service team is now vacuuming up the dead algae resting on the bottom of some parts of the reflecting pool. Just like, and this is what they write, the destroyed Iranian Navy resting on the bottom of the Persian Gulf. Like, they make the metaphor perfect, because the Iranian Navy isn't resting at the bottom of the water. I don't even understand the point other than to make the point that I'm making, which is that you lie about everything. The Iranian Navy's there. That's why they call the Strait of Hormuz. Their ballistic missiles are there. Their ability to enrich uranium is there. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard is there. And everything you've told us about the war is a lie, and everything which we could see and observe with our own eyes, and everything you say about this reflecting pool, which you've now made your biggest cause versus what the American people are actually going through, we can see with our eyes. And, the Trump regime's plan was, first we're going to paint it blue and say it's great. And then that didn't work because algae's a thing. The water source hasn't changed. It's the Potomac Basin. That's what happened and what led to a lot of the algae being built up. Shallow waters, very humid. DC's a swamp. Algae's microscopic, asexual, sexual reproduction. Algae spawns, it grows, it spreads, it's hard to stop. And that's one of the main issues that we have with this algae. And so the Trump regime says, let's pour hydrogen peroxide on it. Okay, you know what that's going to do? In addition to make the reflecting pool like now a death trap for ducks, what it's also going to do is going to rip apart the blue paint, because that's what hydrogen peroxide does. So now they've created these they're like mutant stingray looking things that are the blue paint that kind of form these like mutant fish looking things. And it's like, what in the hell is going on? You see, for those on audio, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Like on the right-hand side, you can see it. But that is everything with this Trump regime. That is their policy with Iran. And so when they talk about this MOU, they act like we won, but you read the document and it is not a document of the side that wins. I've told you before, my view, we should never have been in this catastrophic and unlawful war in the first place. That said, of all of the options since we were in this war, escalating it was the wrong decision. We were days, at most weeks, away from hitting tank bottom, which Trump admitted when he was at the G7, which would have meant we would have run out of oil. You would have went to the gas station. There would have been none there. And it would have created a global depression and mass panic. We were days, at most weeks away from that. There was an economic depression that we were on the verge of as well, which Trump admitted to also. And so that's why, and Iran successfully choked the Strait of Hormuz. They took the United States bombings and maintained a lot of their capabilities and forced Donald Trump into a submission, and Trump blinked. And so this was the only solution that existed. So I don't want you to believe or get the wrong idea when I'm critical of this deal. I actually believe of all of the available options, given that Donald Trump got us in this catastrophic unlawful war, that this deal is the right thing of all of the wrong options. But where I want to be critical of is all of the promises, everything that was sold, everything that was claimed. And even to this day, when they act like this thing was stronger than Obama's, like it objectively isn't. It's not even a deal. It's a memorandum of understanding that has future discussions about frameworks in the future or whatever. I hope it works out because the American people are suffering. When I heard today that gas prices nationally, whether this is true or not, this is what the data from the gas industry is saying, $3.99 a gallon, it's under $4. If that's true, that's great. I want to root for the fact that people need relief right now, but all of this, the $300 billion fund, the gas prices go, all of this, the suffering has been caused by Trump, a warmonger, Trump and Vance and all of these people who are now out there saying that they're the firefighters when they are the arsonists in the first incident. One more point I'll point out, then I'll throw it to you, Brett. With this $300 billion fund, when they go, the $300 billion, it's not the United States that's taxpayer dollars that's going. One, Donald Trump said the same thing about the East Wing of the ballroom, that no taxpayer dollars are going to. We know he lies about these things, okay? So just that very basic point, I'm going to say he's probably lying about, and taxpayers, my guess, are directly paying for it. But even if it wasn't, so you are now the champion of a $300 billion investment in Iran, when you took out, for example, $200 to $300 billion in investments in rural hospitals and in things that the United States needs. So your fight was a $300 billion fund for Iran while you're ripping away the American people's healthcare. So of course it impacts the American people on a cost-benefit analysis of how the American people are suffering as a result of this. Brett and Jordy, I'll turn it over to you.
Well said, Ben. And I think you have to acknowledge, two things that may seem contradictory when you say it. But the first thing is this was a surrender. I mean, it's objectively a surrender. And I actually find it interesting now that if you even go to Wikipedia, the Wikipedia page for this war, the editors have since added when it says the result of the war, for 2026 Iran war, it says result Iranian victory. And it talks about this memorandum. It says regime change failure, Strait of Hormuz crisis, escalation of the Israeli-Hezbollah conflict, global economic disruption, and fuel crisis. So the objective kind of data surrounding this war points to the fact that this was a surrender for the United States. In addition to that, I could point you to an age-old adage, idiom, if you will, to the victor goes the spoils, okay? The winning country is getting a lot of money out of this. And you could say it's coming directly from the United States, or you could say it's coming from these nations in the Middle East who are going to do it. Either way, it's coming from the United States in some capacity because we're going to be funding those nations as well. And this is the kind of thing that Republicans would endlessly go after Obama about and Biden about when they didn't do anything even close to this ever. All Obama and Biden maybe did was unfreeze Iran's funds that they already had, something that Trump is doing as well with this memorandum of understanding at actually a greater scale. But in addition to that, giving them a $300 billion reconstruction fund to build. So you have the United States spending, hundreds of billions of dollars for the war, and now managing this $300 billion fund to give Iran so that they could rebuild. I think that's a pretty good sign that Iran has won this thing. I mean, when you look at it, and I could pull up all the receipts of Don Jr. and Trump and all these various people saying the criticisms about like Obama unfreezing $6 billion and trying to play politics with that. Well, I mean, your dad, or in this Donald Trump, he just did it to a much greater extent. And I think, as somebody who wants to support the United States of America, I think we should all, frankly, be rooting for this thing to succeed, even though it is a surrender, even though it is an utter disaster. I think we hope that it restrains some of the fighting in the region. But I don't think any of the sides have necessarily given us confidence to believe that this is going to be some sort of enduring peace. But I sure hope it is. I hope it is, because this is about real lives. This is about the economic disruption of everybody. So I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, hope it works out. I'm not partisan in that way, where I'm going to just trash something because Trump did it. I think it's a terrible deal, but I agree with you, Ben. I think it's the best of all the kind of various options that were on the table. I wish this was a deal then, and we would have gotten a better deal, by the way, but I wish this was a version of a memorandum of understanding that was reached before Donald Trump decided to drop bombs on the country and throw the entire world into chaos and disrupt the oil markets, disrupt the energy markets, kill a bunch of innocent girls, kill our troops. That would have been great if this was it. And by the way, that still would have been weaker than Obama's JCPOA. What would have been even the best is if Trump, just back in the day in his first term, actually kept Obama's deal, which is far stronger than this. But, Trump made his bed. Now he's lying in it. Unfortunately, we all have to lie in it as well. So given these current circumstances of the way the world is currently structured, I certainly hope this works out. We already see a lot of signs that Israel and Hezbollah are still fighting. Israel killed a few people earlier today in Hezbollah. This is another one of kind of Iran's red lines around the MOU. So I'm incredibly worried about that. You're starting to see Trump and Vance and people in the administration finally try to use their power to speak out against some of the actions of Israel. It feels a little late at this point. And as Ben said, these are the arsonists now trying to pretend to be the firefighters. And I also don't trust that is going to be an enduring stance from Trump and Vance and all of these folks. They should have been, pushing this anyway. I mean, you need to constrain everybody in the region, quite frankly, or else you're going to have this tit for tat that goes on for years and years and years, the way we've basically seen these sorts of fights in that region go on for years and years and years and years and years. And so I hope this is a chance, where we could see some sort of semblance of peace and a rebuilding of the Middle East. But hope isn't a strategy, and we don't have the smartest people running things here. And so we'll have to wait and see. But I truly, from the bottom of my heart, I hope this thing works out for the betterment of the entire world. We should have never been in this war in the first place. In my view, it was an illegal war, and I think the sooner we get out of that region, the better. We just should not be doing these things. How many times do we have to do this and learn our lesson? And quite frankly, all of the other people, I hope, instead of gaslighting themselves into thinking we won, I hope they realize that we did lose, and that this was a surrender, and that this was a humiliation for the United States. Because the next time that they decide that they want to do something like this, I hope they have a second thought and go, maybe it's not a great idea to invade a country in the Middle East, because it's not going to work out so well for our country, for the world, for our citizens, for our soldiers. It's just not a good idea. Let's try to pursue a path of diplomacy. And frankly, the fact that Mark Levin and Netanyahu and all the most radical people out there are against this thing, at least makes me to some respect, and on some level, be like, okay, so maybe it's not that bad after all. It's horrible for the United States, but like I said, if I don't want to pursue an option of war hawks, and I don't want to be dragged into more war, more violence, more bloodshed, more explosions, I don't think that works out well for anybody. And these same people who constantly have pushed us into these wars over the past few decades are the same ones who want to just drag this war out again. I think it's up to us to say enough of the war. You lost, you humiliated the United States. Let's move on. Let's rebuild, and let's try to figure out how to actually make the best out of this horrific situation that you've caused.
Exactly, B. Really well said. For me, it comes down to like good MOU, bad MOU. That's not even how I view this, in the whole context personally. For me, it just always comes back to what was the point of all of this? Genuine, what was the point? This was a war of choice by Donald Trump, and he got our service members killed, which he downplays every single time he's asked about it. It's absolutely disgusting and just a total failure of any sort of accountability and leadership that you expect a president to take. It's really pathetic and should outrage everyone. Our gas prices just hiked, skyrocketed. People were furious. They still are. And look, regime change, no regime change happened. It was a complete failure. And again, what was this for? All to seemingly reopen the Strait of Hormuz? That was open before we inserted ourselves into this in the first place. I have no understanding of why Donald Trump decided to do this, because we're basically just back in the same situation, but now less well off because of it. It's absolutely pathetic, man. What was the point of this? What, to bomb a little girls' school? This was absolutely pathetic, a total abdication of leadership from Donald Trump in this presidency. The Trump regime should be humiliated, and they should feel this embarrassment for years to come.
Yeah, when you talk about rebuild, we need to rethink and restructure and reevaluate in general, what we are even doing, because a lot of the kind of fundamental assumptions of the United States presence in the Middle East, is wrong and was inflaming problems and creating more instability. And that's why, as you mentioned, when you have Netanyahu and you have Mark Levin and you have Smotrich and Ben Gvir and all of these people, out there who are saying, well, we're not leaving Lebanon. It's not yours. It's not yours to be in. It's Lebanon's Lebanon, and stop blowing up buildings in Lebanon, stop the genocide in Gaza. And when I hear JD Vance saying things like that, I go, on the one hand, Brett, to your point earlier, the complex thoughts, I agree with what JD Vance is saying on June 18th, but this was JD Vance basically having a debate with JD Vance from February 27th, when JD Vance and Donald Trump and Hegseth and Rubio and this whole war criminal regime went into this war. And so within a span of a few months, an entire ideological change has occurred. And the Trump regime tries to sell this as, oh, it occurred because we won. When it's like, no, you all went in under the assumptions that you would be greeted as heroes, but you were viewed as war criminals, warmongers, people trying to conquer and impose their will, and you were resisted and you lost, and now you're changing the view very transactionally, and so it feels so abrupt. And so as we assess JD's behavior and Trump's behavior and all of this behavior, we have to hold these complex thoughts, but also know that we're inherently dealing with deceitful, lying, shitty humans who will change this view tomorrow if it suits them, and the day after. So when I see a clip of JD Vance seemingly standing up to Israel in the sense of stop these bombings of Beirut buildings and Daya and Tyre, stop doing this, I'm shaking my head and saying, well, I agree with JD Vance, but then also I'm saying, is this even, who is this guy? This is a guy who's changed his name 3 or 4 different times. This is a guy with multiple identities who called Trump Hitler and then loved Trump and then this and that. These aren't people who have any core sense of beliefs, values, or ideas, and it shifts overnight, very transactionally.
I'll say this, Ben. Say what you want about me or us. Like I like to think we're pretty ideologically consistent, even though a lot of the Trump people are like, "You just hate Trump." No, he stands for against all the values that I stand for. He's against all of them. So yes, generally that leads me to hating everything he does. But the fact is he's said stuff in the past few days all randomly that I'm like, oh yeah, no, I agree. You said that we had unlimited oil and we were never going to run out of oil and we didn't need the Middle East. Then all of a sudden yesterday you said that we were going to be in a Great Depression because oil was going to run out in 4 weeks. And yeah, I agree with that. That's what we've been saying. But when Donald Trump says it, he's like, we have 4 more weeks and all the stupid people were telling me we had to keep going. No, that was you. Okay. You were the one saying that. You were the one acting like we had unlimited supply. We have unlimited munitions. We have unlimited oil, when we were just following the data. We weren't trying to be partisan. We weren't trying to be Trump haters. We were looking, what do we have in the oil reserves right now? Holy shit. The data says that we have the amount of oil we have right now is actually less than the amount of oil we had in our reserves in 1983. That seems like a pretty big problem to have. And then you have all the Trump people gaslighting you and say, oh, that's fake news. Oh, we have unlimited oil. We're energy.
There's no algae. There's no algae.
And Ben, that's exactly where I was going with this, to bring it full circle to where we started this segment, is that these are the same people who, when they look at the green pool that exists right now, the Ninja Turtle green pool, they go, that picture's not from today. That picture's from Obama. That picture's from the last minute. That's before we fixed it. And I at a certain point, there's no getting through to people like that, right? If you're an honest broker, if you're somebody who, and I know a lot of people may even get mad at me for saying this, but if you're someone who voted for Trump and now regrets it, and you're open-minded and you're listening to what we're saying, and you're kind of having a realization like, oh, they've been following the facts and I may have disagreed with them, but that's one thing. But if you're somebody who looks at a green body of water and tries to tell me that it's not green, I don't know. We need to do some psychological tests to see what the hell is going on there. I even saw, I got thrown on some TikTok algorithm the other day where somebody was just filming the algae pool, the reflecting pool, and it was bright green. And somehow that must have hit a MAGA algorithm, because all the comments were from MAGA people saying fake video, AI, this is from before the renovations. And to me, there's nothing you could do with those people, right? No. And it goes back to kind of the thing that we would say on this show about kind of fact versus fiction, and not both sidesing the issues like so many in corporate media do. But when we would say, if I look outside and the sky is blue and you're telling me the sky is green, I'm going to say, no, the sky is blue. It's not somewhere in between blue and green. But
this is the real life culmination of that.
Yes, Jordy, this is the real life version of that. Except I'm looking at a pool that is green and you're telling me that it's actually blue. Okay. And so I'm sorry, that's not what we do here. And that's what Trump is trying to do with everything. He's trying to act like this is a great MOU and the war went great and we're lethal war fighters and we're the best and I'm amazing at everything. And all of it is BS. It's all a lie. When it comes down to it, all of that is the reflecting pool filled with algae. And over time, the algae will always be there. It will show itself and you can't hide it. You can't BS your way out of it. The same way Trump could only BS his way out of COVID for so long until people started dying. It came here and the cases went up and up and up and up and up. He tried to call it a hoax. This is the same strategy he does with everything. He's a liar. He's a gaslighter. Everybody around him are liars as well. And we need to continue to stand up to that.
So funny how our brains work, because I was going to give the same exact sky analogy, and this is the real life culmination. Like I literally was typing that up as you were speaking. I don't know if it's because we're brothers or because we spent so much time together, or maybe both. But with the cherry on top, of the segment. The only thing that I would further add to the reflecting pool turning Ninja Turtle green, and maybe JD Vance seeing like he finally agrees with some of our stances here when he's at least speaking public facing now, is this is the same thing that we did and that we take the approach of with everything here at the network, which is following the facts, right? We're not just like shooting from the hip and like guessing, right? When we say in May, mid-May, when Ben does the video talking about how and what Trump is doing to the reflecting pool is going to have disastrous consequences. And then you fast forward to June and you see those disastrous consequences. I grew up with Ben. He was not a reflecting pool expert back then, I could promise you. But we speak with people who are and are very knowledgeable about the space, who had told us that, hey, what Trump is doing right now, this is really going to actually like blow back in his face, because what he's doing by painting it this blue is that there's going to be this buildup of algae. There's going to be this blah, blah, blah. And like, I don't have to go further and further, but the main point I'm trying to get at here is we just follow the facts of the network. We do. We take that approach. We're very fact-based with everything we do. Yes, we'll give you our opinions, but the reports are deeply rooted in research and consultation with true experts of these fields. And so I know our audience knows that. But again, for any former MAGA who have now found the way to the light, that are just so offended that Donald Trump and his regime are trying to tell you that that's crystal clear, let Ninja Turtle green, crystal clear blue, and have now seen the light. That's just the approach we take here at the MeidasTouch Network. So if you like that, make sure you're subscribed for more of that, Brett.
We got a lot more to discuss on this episode of the MeidasTouch podcast. I want to thank everybody again for tuning in or listening. And I just want to say, honestly, if I could just take like 10 seconds to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We're so grateful for each and every one of you for tuning in every day, whether you're a daily listener, whether you listen to multiple episodes a day, watch us on YouTube, Substack, the audio podcast, follow us on Instagram. We are genuinely, from the bottom of our hearts, so grateful to have you here with us. And we got a lot more to talk about on this episode. I know you're not going to want to miss it. Remember to add the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I promise you, we'll be back in just a few minutes after this quick ad break. We'll see you in a second. This episode of the MeidasTouch podcast is brought to you by Wild Grain. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription box for sourdough breads, artisanal pastries, and fresh pastas. Unlike many store-bought options, Wild Grain uses simple ingredients you can pronounce and a slow fermentation process that can be easier on your belly and richer in nutrients and antioxidants. Plus, all items conveniently bake in 25 minutes or less with no thawing required. One of the things I love is how easy it is. With how busy life gets, having fresh sourdough bread, croissants, and fresh pasta ready in under half an hour is a game changer. The sourdough tastes like it came from a local bakery, the croissants are flaky and buttery, and it makes it so much easier to have high-quality food at home without making another trip to the store. And if you have different dietary preferences, Wild Grain's boxes are fully customizable. In addition to their variety box, they have a gluten-free box, vegan box, and a new protein box. Imagine having fresh bakery-quality bread, pastries, and pasta at home without any trips to the store. And don't just take my word for it. They have over 40,000 five-star reviews and have been voted the best food subscription box by USA Today for 3 years in a row. Sometimes I'll do a full Wild Grain day, bake a croissant for breakfast, have a sandwich using the sourdough for lunch, a little pasta at night, top it off with a dessert, maybe their cookies or a blueberry lemon donut. For a limited time, Wild Grain is offering our listeners $30 off your first box, plus free croissants for life when you go to wildgrain.com/Meidas to start your subscription today. That's $30 off your first box and free croissants for life when you visit wildgrain.com/Meidas, or you could use promo code Meidas at checkout. That's MEIDAS. You know what's easier than fixing a problem? Not having the problem in the first place. Your liver is one of those organs that you don't think about until you have to. Supporting it daily is one of those small things that can make a huge difference in how you feel overall, and that's where Dose comes in. Dose for your liver is a clinically backed liver health supplement. This isn't just another capsule or powder. Dose is a liquid supplement. It's taken in a daily 2-ounce shot, and it tastes like fresh squeezed orange juice. Here's why it matters. Your liver is your body's filter. It processes everything you consume and handles over 500 plus daily functions: energy production, digestion, fat metabolism, vitamin storage. When your liver is overworked, you feel it. Dose helps cleanse the liver of unwanted stressors that may be slowing your liver down and it promotes daily liver function so that your liver can do its job. 0 sugar, 0 junk, 0 calories. And when you take dose daily, you're going to reduce sluggishness, get rid of those midday crashes, support your metabolism, and even aid your daily digestion. Plus, this is the real deal. There are 2 double-blind placebo-controlled studies showing doses' positive impact on liver enzyme levels. Are you ready to give your liver the support it deserves? Head to dosedaily.co/Meidas or enter Meidas to get 35% off your first subscription. Your body does so much for you. Let's do something for it. That's dosedaily.co/Meidas, MEIDAS, for 35% off your first month subscription.
Shout out to our sponsors, y'all. Links in the description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit, let them know we sent you, Benji. Where to next?
It's interesting, when you're starting to look at states that have been viewed as more red states or purple turning red states like a Georgia or an Ohio, which I think we all view as a red state now, you're seeing Democrats pull ahead there. You take a look at Texas, as well, and these aren't just kind of pipe dreams at this point. It just seems that people are sick and tired of this Trump regime, their constant barrage of lies, and their focus on manipulating the market and arches and reflecting pools and ballrooms, while the American people are suffering every single day. And I think people also just think this is a bad look for the country, just a bad look. Like when you see Donald Trump out there in the G7 and you see him falling asleep and unable to really function, unable to make coherent sentences. And then when he does speak, he says things that are so internally inconsistent and contradictory. And it was a really sad sight to see world leaders, treat Donald Trump like, someone in your family who may be in hospice care, and you're seeing someone who you knew, just really struggle, and you would have, prime ministers and emirs and presidents and leaders, kind of speaking to Donald Trump with a recognition that they were speaking to someone who was really not their physical presence, but
did you
but
notice
not,
Macron? I felt like Macron almost looked like a caretaker for Trump. Like he was kind of always by his side, like kind of directing him around. Like Donald, you're supposed to be walking in this direction, not that direction. Like it was actually an interesting thing to see.
It was interesting to see Prime Minister Carney talking to Donald Trump. Like, I thought you would like this, Donald. Donald, we're doing caps on Chinese EVs. Do you like that? I like it. Just even stuff like that. I mean, seeing that, Donald Trump arrived late to the G7 meetings. Everybody's sitting there. Trump shows up. Do we have this clip, Brett? I don't know if we have it, with the South Korean kind of delegation, not the leadership, just like their kind of delegation. Trump shows up late to the G7. And then he doesn't know where he is. And then he goes, the boss is here. And then immediately Trump's propaganda arm and social media take it. And they clip the part where Trump goes, the boss is here. And then they try to contrast that to Biden, because everything has to be a way to attack a former president. And in fact, Donald Trump was lost. He showed up late. You had French President Emmanuel Macron all right, let's get started. And just this awkward laughter filled the room. I know it's a moment that probably hasn't gotten enough attention, but if we've got that moment, Brett, can we play that?
Oh, hello, President.
Hello, I'm the boss.
I'm the boss.
So he walks in with the Korean delegation and then follows them and follows their instructions until a woman points him to the direction of where the United States is supposed to sit, and then he covers for it with that "I'm the boss" statement, which I feel like is something, I don't know, like an embarrassed toddler, would say in a situation like that.
The entire clip, he looks like a toddler. Like he genuinely, like he's confused where he's going, and he like makes the unfunny joke. It's concerning. Like and Ben, for me too, it just comes down to that. Like I don't like the way this just makes us look. Like forget all of the other stuff, but to just have someone so wholly, one, first off, incompetent up there, but two, so clearly like progressively getting worse in his own, mental capacity. It's deeply embarrassing and concerning for me as someone who loves this country, that I look at that guy, I'm like, that's our leader. Like that's the leader of the president. Like, absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, Brett did a whole video that I thought was great where I don't want to play the whole thing because I played it on other episodes, and you can go and watch some of the videos on our Instagram or on our YouTube. We have Brett did the short where he showed Trump really struggling to walk and talk throughout the G7, and he had to like hold Prime Minister Modi's hand to get up on the step, and he would wander, and French President Emmanuel Macron would say, "Come here." He would like go in for like multiple kisses with Brigitte Macron's wife, and she would be very kind of uncomfortable about it. Again, he had these swollen ankles, swollen legs, cuts all over his hands, the makeup on his hands. He looks like he's gained another 40 pounds or 30 pounds over the past, few weeks even. He's not, he doesn't seem to know where he is. When he does talk, though, I'll show you this. There is this disinhibition where he keeps on talking about how attracted he is to the men around him. And he keeps saying that they're good looking and how handsome they are. And it's very bizarre. We have, I'll just show you this short clip that Brett put together of just some of the stuff he was saying. But this goes on and on and on. And he's been doing this a lot lately. Lots of anytime he sees a man next to him, he's like attracted to the man. He's like, "Oh, you're so handsome. You're so good, so strong. You're so tough. I want to be next to you. Can I touch your muscles? Can I touch you?" It's just very strange. Here, just play this clip.
He was in a hotel, and I met him, and we fell in love, deeply in love. So we had a good relationship right from the beginning. No, we met. We didn't know each other before that. We had great chemistry, and I stayed twice as long as I was supposed to. So you look at this man. I'll give you a lesson. He's the most beautiful looking man. He looks so nice. He's like an angel. The press conference seems to have gone well. You shot your load pretty much, Steve, right? Pretty much.
First, he was talking to President El-Sisi of Egypt. Then he was talking to Prime Minister Modi, and there's a lot more clips like that. I'm just showing you for the sake of brevity that right there. He was talking to the reporter about how handsome while he was with the president of the UAE, who's the Emir of Abu Dhabi. He kept on, saying, "Oh, you got good looking guys here. Is he one of yours? Is he one of yours?" And in between that, he's talking about how, enriched uranium is never something that's even that valuable. We don't care about enriched uranium. It's like, okay, but that's literally the thing you've been saying, so much so that you wanted to get rid of all of the dust. Not only did you care about the enriched uranium, you wanted to get rid of the nuclear dust. We were going to bring in people to get rid of it. And now that's not even like an issue to you. That's not valuable. The whole thing that you and Hegseth were saying when people were like, yeah, but the nuclear capabilities aren't imminent. So what'd they say? Well, Iran has a conventional ballistic missile shield. That's what they would say, that protects against the nuclear capabilities. And now Trump is saying, we don't care about their ballistic missiles. If Saudi Arabia has ballistic missiles, why doesn't Iran get ballistic missiles? Which, by the way, is not an invalid point. And you can say, well, Ben, the United States is allied with Saudi Arabia. But then I could also go back and say, well, they killed, reporters, and they've had a lot of people involved.
I'll put it this way. I don't think there's a single country in the world that is not allowed to make ballistic missiles. These are sovereign countries. We may not like them, but it's a sovereign country. But the fact is that they made this their entire premise for the war and for extending the war. And so now to go back and say, oh, actually, ballistic missiles famous. We didn't actually. Who cares? I mean, whatever. Nuclear material, nuclear. It's really not a big. It's honestly, it's not even. It's not even that big of a deal. It's not. It's actually not even that dangerous. So like, maybe we'll like check it out in a few months or something. But it's really not even like the fact that you could even say that with a straight face. If that is truly your view, that you're the only thing that you care about, as they're trying to make it seem now, is that we want Iran to promise that they will not make a nuclear weapon in the future. If that's legitimately the only thing that you care, you never would have ripped up the JCPOA in the first place, because it did that, and it did that with proper monitoring and requirements, and it was actually quite strong. I think, quite frankly, any of these Republicans who criticized Obama's JCPOA and are now praising this deal should be utterly ashamed. And I think it speaks to, honestly, how good of a negotiator Barack Obama was, and how good of a job that he did, that he was able to secure those things from Iran and make a deal for the region that is so much better than the one that we have right now. And once again, what we have right now is not even a deal. It's a memorandum of understanding to do a future deal. But Obama's deal was a real deal with teeth that was far stronger by far than anything we have now. And he did it without disrupting the entire world economy. And he did it without going to war, without killing innocent people. I think that actually speaks a lot to how good of a leader Obama is. And frankly, Trump should be apologizing to Barack Obama for what he did, and apologizing to all the United States, rather than being like, Obama's fault for the algae in the pool. It's Obama's algae. Shut up.
Everyone remembers. Everyone remembers Obama's 2012 algae. Who could forget the infamous 2012 algae?
Yeah, I remember Obama was like, Affordable Care Act, we don't need it. I want to talk algae.
That's good Obama.
We're going to talk algae.
Good Obama.
Not bad.
There's this guy. The Trump regime lied. The Trump regime lies with such impunity that you just know. You just know when the Strait is fully open and accessible and running at full capacity, they're gonna spike the football. Strait's open. Like I already see the X post, the Twitter post, all about that. Like, oh, it's open. We did it, dude. It was open before you got us in this in the first place. Like that's what we're gonna be celebrating. I just know that's the path we're sort of leading towards, because there is no win here for the U.S. Like the way we've utterly surrendered right now is absolutely pathetic.
I was gonna kill Osama bin Laden, but I decided needed to kill some algae instead.
But here's the thing: the way these these outcomes occur, it is what you might expect in an episode of some weird reality show like The Apprentice, right? Was Vanilla Ice gonna win? Oh, it's Penn and Teller, and it's like, okay, that's a weird show. Like I don't know, like a TV show we grew up with, right? Like you think one thing's gonna happen, then all of a sudden, it was this outcome. I think like an episode of Saved by the Bell or whatever we grew up with, or the movie Rambo. He's about to get caught, and then this happens. And there's an expression, I think it's called Deus Ex Machina, where like at the end of the
Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, right. What do you say?
Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, Deus Ex Machina. Where at the end of it, the act of God kind of comes in, and and then like all of a sudden, like there's a major change now. We're pro-Iran, we're like we were working with this side, and now we're this side overnight.
And we're like a step away from Trump being like, and death to America. What a good phrase.
But let me be clear. One of the things that JD Vance said was Donald Trump could get elected as the Ayatollah himself, and the Democrats would be mad. That's an exact quote. I don't think I want the president of the United States to be the Ayatollah, to be the supreme leader of Iran. I think that it's a complete 180. But when you hear that, but by the way, JD Vance's entire whole life is a 180. I mean, all these people, the RFKs and this whole regime of people.
It's the one connective tissue between all of them, right?
They're all
And this is something
frauds.
we warned about all of you also throughout the campaigns, right? For those who are watching us throughout the actual presidential campaigns, Trump could say one thing to one crowd and then go to another crowd and say the opposite thing. And then you'd have his followers just pick and choose what they wanted to believe that he was saying, when it's pretty clear like what Trump's belief is by his actions. But he would go to Dearborn, Michigan, and he would say things that would make them think that he'd be this protector of Gaza, right? And then he would go to a community that was very pro-Israel, and he would tell them that he would make sure that Gaza would, be in the hands of Israel, and he would do everything to protect it. And he would hold those two diametrically opposed positions at the same time. And so, and even the media would fall for this often too, right? They would fall for it on the abortion issue, right? Donald Trump could say that women should not be allowed to get abortions, that there should be some punishment for the women. There was that famous comment from Trump during his the first campaign. And then he could say the opposite. He could say something else. And then you, as an independent reporter, could say, well, we've heard what Donald Trump's opinion is on this, right? And then the reporters would be like, oh, but he said this. I'm like, yeah, he said that because he saw that there was bad press because he said the other thing. But then guess what he did? He put in the Supreme Court justices that overturned Roe v. Wade. So don't give me a fact check because Donald Trump said two different things.
Yeah, or remember what he said about Project 2025. I don't know what it is. I don't support it. And then we at the MeidasTouch Network would report, no, they're going to implement Project 2025. And we would get hit with like those Daniel Dale style fact checks and this fact check organization and Snoopies or Snopes. And they would all be like, Donald Trump said no. Fact check on I go, I know he's saying the words no, but he's a liar. The guy lies about everything. There is no thread of a value and a principle, and you can't believe it. So you have to assess what he's actually doing. And the thing is, when you try to assess what he's doing, he's fine with quite literally doing the exact opposite the other day than he did the day before. And then when he has you so deep down into the cult, you're already right there. So to the extent you go against the cult, he sicks the cult on you. And then you feel like, you're under attack, or you're going to lose a job, or whatever or you're just so far down the rabbit hole that you might as well keep going down because it's so embarrassing to admit that you're not. Or you see what happens when people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie and others start saying it. But the reality is that even right now, the complex part about me covering, and I'll show you this a little bit when we come back from the break, like Trump will say something now as it relates to the Middle East, and America shouldn't be involved. And why would we continue to go to war if that causes a depression? And all these tough guys out there want us to be involved in a never-ending war. Really? You want to be the person to take responsibility for a depression? You want to be the person to be there when we have oil lines or no oil? We can't let that happen. I listen to that personally. And I'm opening up to the audience. I'm being vulnerable. I go, whoa, what he said there at that moment, how do I feel? Because I actually, whatever that segment was, I'm in agreement with that, but he's a fraud, and he's just saying that because he's desperate. And when he's a cornered rat, he'll say anything to dig out of it, including, I think the Iranians are great people. He changes the whole thing from these are radical extremists who all need to die to I think they're strong and powerful people. He doesn't, it's pure survival. When I hear JD Vance speak up and seem like he's standing up against Netanyahu, and Netanyahu blowing up buildings in Lebanon, and he said, and JD Vance will say something like, well, what's your game plan? You're just going to try to kill everybody? You think that's going to be effective? And why would you attack us? We're the only country that still supports you. He goes, he goes, you're lucky that Donald Trump's the only person who still supports you right now. So let us get this deal done. What the heck are you even trying to do? And he says something like that. And I'm like, yeah, but he's a liar about everything, JD Vance. Who knows who any of these people are? And when you're dealing with any aspect of life, whether it's international affairs, domestic affairs, your personal relations with other people, how you carry yourself, it is important to have some reliability and consistency, and for your words to matter, right? That's what I was always raised and told. My dad would say, Ben, you got to be a man of your word, right? That's what my parents would say. Mom, I'm going to be a man of your word. They would say to me, look, you've got to, if you say you're going to do something, you got to deliver. If you say you're going to show up, you got to show up. Just basic stuff that this regime doesn't have. And so that's why when JD Vance will say something, I'll go, I go, yeah, but his name's not even JD Vance. like the guy's had 2 other identities before this, right?
It's why, Ben, you always have to know, and we've said this honestly for 6 years at this point, since the beginning of Meidas. Trump will always screw you. Trump will always screw you. If you try to chain yourself to Trump and think that he is going to be your savior, everything Trump touches dies. It's gonna end badly for you. So even if you're Israel and you think now's the time we're going to burn all of our bridges, I'll say it metaphorically because they do a lot of stuff like that. We're going to burn all of our bridges and we are going to go all in on Donald Trump. Donald Trump is our savior. He could do no wrong. Let's go all in on BB and Trump, and BB is going to go all in with Trump, and it's going to be this whole alliance, and it's going to work out great for everybody. Now, like, a lot of the Israeli people are pissed. They're pissed at Trump. They view it as he's sold out. And Trump's net approval rating in Israel right now, it's swung like 46 points in like weeks. And to me, it's like, what do you think was going to happen? It's kind of the same story about, the Islamic population in Dearborn, Michigan. They put a lot of trust in Trump. A lot of them did not vote for Kamala Harris because Trump made promises to them. All of a sudden, they're like, what the hell? This isn't what we voted for. And I wish it weren't, but this is a guy who will screw you over no matter what. If you're that union worker, right? And you see Donald Trump is doing fake union events, and then you vote for the guy, and then he starts screwing you and your union, then what the hell did he think was going to happen? I could go down the list of basically every group of people, the farmers. I mean, I could go through every group of people. Do not put your trust in this man because he believes in nothing except his own survival. And the only reason he even ran for president in the first place was because he was terrified of going to prison, and this was a way out. So he used his cult, and he used all of you, and he divided and he conquered, and he went group to group to group and told them all what they wanted to hear, all so that he could avoid being in prison for the rest of his life. And I will say that worked out for him, but it's not looking so good for him right now. And he is not looking good right now.
It's why you got to ground things in values and principles and try to set aside tribal politics and just call out, is this right or is this wrong? Is there a genocide in Gaza? Yes. Are they bombing Lebanon and slaughtering people and want to do more atrocity? Yes. Is that bad? Yes. Do you call it out? Absolutely. Do you call it out? If Hezbollah is attacking, in Israel, and you say, is that wrong? You say, yes. You call out what's wrong. You have to have, again, a foundation of values and principles. When they're out there attacking unions, are you okay with that? No, you can't be okay with that. When they're attacking marginalized communities and transgender people and bullying people, are you going to go, well, I think voters like that in 2024. Donald Trump put out an ad that said, she's with they, them, and not with us. No, you don't fall into that trap. You go, you know what we do? We stand up for people. We stand up for marginalized. We fight for people. You stand for something or you fall for everything. That's what life has to be about. What's the point of living in this life if you truly stand for nothing and you're just basically being led into the abyss by a psychopath like Donald Trump? And it's what I always say, Brett, to your point too, with these like right-wing billionaire oligarchs. Really, you don't have enough money that you are going to just allow yourself to be pulled into this direction and to cataclysmic consequences? Because the moment he lifts you up and puts you in the White House, he can just as equally crush you, and it goes in the opposite direction. And you're setting a whole framework for that to occur, and the destruction ultimately that you've ushered in of any type of predictability or accountability, in the underlying system. Anyway, we have a lot more to discuss. We'll take our last quick break of the show, and we come back. I want to chat about what some of these voters are out there feeling. We got to show some of the Obama clips. I got to show you a clip that we have of Senator Ossoff, what's going on there. Let's take our last quick break of the show. We'll be right back.
You know, one thing I've learned is that it's not always the big expenses that get you. It's the little subscriptions and charges that quietly pile up in the background. Between work, family, and trying to keep up with the news cycle, it's easy to lose track of where your money is actually going. That's why Rocket Money has been so helpful. It gives you a clear picture of all your accounts in one place, tracks your spending, and helps you spot subscriptions you may not even remember signing up for. If there are subscriptions you don't want anymore, Rocket Money has the ability to cancel them within the app in just a few taps. In fact, Rocket Money users have saved over $880 million in canceled subscriptions. I also like that it helps you set budgets and financial goals and gives you insights into your spending habits so that there are fewer surprises at the end of the month. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Try for $0 at rocketmoney.com/MeidasTouch. That's rocketmoney.com/MeidasTouch. rocketmoney.com/MeidasTouch. MEIDASTOUCH. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I was genuinely surprised by these when I first received them. I figured their jeans, how different can they really be? But the perfect jean completely changed my mind. My biggest frustration has always been that jeans either fit my waist or my legs, but never both. And by the end of the day, I'm constantly adjusting them or wishing I could just change to sweatpants. These actually fit right out of the box. No tailoring, no break-in period. They stretch, they are ridiculously comfortable, and honestly, they feel as comfortable as sweatpants while still looking like great denim. You can sit, bend down, move around, and they still keep their shape. They just fit the body you actually have. Whether you're looking for a pair for yourself or need a great Father's Day gift, I totally get why so many people end up ordering more than one pair, just like I did. Our listeners get 15% off their first order, plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc or Google The Perfect Jean and use code MeidasTouch for 15% off. Again, that's theperfectjean.nyc or Google The Perfect Jean and use code MeidasTouch, MEIDAS15 for 15% off.
Knockoffs might look the same at first, but we all know that they never hold up. Leaf Filter isn't just another gutter guard, it's a trusted name that's built to last, with over 20 years of relentless engineering and over 50 patents behind it. Don't settle for a knockoff. Protect your home with Leaf Filter and save up to 35% off your entire purchase at leaffilter.com/Meidas. Gutters are more complicated than they seem, and it's important to go with a trusted system, not knockoffs. By going with the pros, I'll save so much time this summer and peace of mind knowing that I had a professional handle it for me. And here's the thing, clogged gutters aren't just annoying, they can cause extensive water damage. Don't trust companies that claim they work like Leaf Filter. They don't. Some hood-style guards can't keep up in heavy rain. Water can pour right over the edge and straight to your home's foundation or landscaping. And in lighter rain, leaves and debris can flow right in the gap. Leaf Filter works better because it's topped by surgical grade stainless steel micro mesh, so water is channeled in while debris is filtered out where it belongs. Every installation comes with a lifetime transferable warranty and a no clog guarantee. With more than 50 design and engineering patents, Leaf Filter is trusted by over 1 million homeowners. From drizzles to downpours, Leaf Filter helps protect your home from water damage. Call today to schedule your free gutter inspection and get a no obligation estimate. A Leaf Filter trusted pro will clean out, realign, and seal your gutters before installing Leaf Filter. They also repair and replace any damaged gutters as needed. Engineering, reliability, and performance. That's what makes Leaf Filter America's #1 gutter protection system. Start protecting your home today with Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system. Schedule your free inspection at leaffilter.com/Meidas. That's up to 35% off at leaffilter.com/Meidas. Minimum purchase required. Restrictions apply. See rep for warranty and promotion details. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Really quick, Daniel Dale took a stray in that segment. Daniel, I hope he's doing well. I saw something the other day that like he hasn't like reported in like 100
CNN
days.
like doesn't put him on the air anymore.
Yeah, they just don't put him on anymore. So
it's wild. Yeah, I mean, you know, because they're like,
T's and
They're like,
P's to
oh,
BB.
Trump lies a lot. No need to fact check him anymore.
I remember back in the day.
No, we don't have to do the whole thing. We don't have to do the
Okay.
whole thing. We don't.
I won't go down the road. My only point was that we.
Don't do the
My only
clapping
point is that we
thing.
were proven to be correct. That's my
Yeah,
point.
exactly. That's the larger point. That's the larger
during Trump won, like they put him on all the time.
You're
I
not
don't
going
want
to do
to.
it to Brett.
The only thing we're still on the air. Is
Ben,
Ben, I don't want to do it. Don't make me do it. Ben, where are we going next?
Yeah, it could
Brett
be.
gets upset when we do it.
Okay, I'll just show you Ohio Trump voter saying "F you" to Donald Trump. Let's show this video of the Ohio Trump voter. If we got it, let's play.
If you could talk to President Trump directly right now, what would you tell him?
Should you want me to really say it on air? I say you. I don't mean to be disrespectful to any leader, but he's disrespectful to us, and he doesn't care. So.
Or Harry Enton.
His name was Rob Couch. JD, hope you didn't blow your
Harry Enton was looking at some of these state regime media Fox polls, and here's what Harry Enton had to say earlier today about Trump's approval. Let's play it.
The American people are going, what was the point of all of that? What was the point of all that? Because the American people hate it. And the way you can know that they hate it, just take a look. Trump's net approval ratings hits lows for Fox polling. These are Fox polls. In May, he had his lowest ever rating at minus 22 points. You come into the poll that was released last night, the second lowest ever, 1 point better at minus 21 points. Way underwater. And with independents, I know you love when I point out the independents, Johnny B, 55 points underwater. I mean, my goodness gracious, this was a political disaster. No wonder the president wants to move on from it.
He said he didn't want to be Herbert Hoover.
Yeah.
It may be that voters were already looking at him like that, in a manner of speaking. What about on inflation, which may be driving some of these numbers and directly related to the war with Iran?
Yeah, you know, you mentioned Herbert Hoover, the economy, right? That sunk his presidency. Inflation is what is sinking Donald Trump's presidency to all-time lows, at least according to Fox, because just take a look here. Look at Ipsos polling. Trump's net approval rating on inflation. Pre-Iran war, it was bad, right? It was 33 points underwater. But then look in the past month, the average, according to the Ipsos polling, look at that, 51 points underwater. There was no president ever before that had any poll in which he was 50 points underwater on inflation or worse, and the average of the Ipsos polling over the last month was 51 points underwater on inflation. The Iran war absolutely drove Trump to new lows on the issue that got him reelected in the first place, inflation.
Then you have JD Vance talking about Israel and Israel's cabinet speaking out against this MOU. Here's what JD Vance had to say. It's what I was referencing before. Let's play it.
What I will say, and this does bother me, is that you have seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal and in some ways very personally attacked the president of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. And the second message I would give to some of those cabinet members, Bibi, to his credit, has not gone down this path, but to some of these cabinet members in Israel who are attacking the President of the United States, the other thing that I would say is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars. The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the President of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. Thank you all.
Then he did a podcast on the New York Times, and here he is. I mean, yes, Trita Parsi says, holy smokes, JD Vance to Israel opposing the MOU. Let's play this clip if we got.
But yeah, you've seen people in their system, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, who've attacked the deal. And I guess my response to them would be, what is your exact proposal? And, you know, you're a country of 9 million people. You can't just kill your way out of solving every single national security problem that you have. Look at what.
And what makes JD Vance, though, so dangerous is that he had basically a diametrically different position 5 days ago or 7 days ago or 10 days ago than what you just saw there. And he delivered that message. I mean, we all know he's a fraud, but to a lot of people, you would view that as he's delivering that message convincingly. And what he said there is what's on a lot of people's mind right now. I mean, as you have Israel saying, we have our security zone inside Lebanon, and we're going to keep on blowing up Lebanon buildings, and we're going to go take, Daya and Tyre, and then Gaza is ours. When you hear Smotrich and Gavir and Bibi and all of these people say these horrible things, a lot of the criticisms that we've had, and I think rightfully so, against this Netanyahu regime, frankly, sound a lot like what, not the part where, Donald Trump's your only, ally in the world, but we've been talking about, how you've how you've not just destroyed the region, you've irreparably harmed whatever you think you're building for Israel. You've destroyed that too. You've created a situation where you're all alone. JD Vance delivers that as though he was on this side the whole time. And, he's the same guy who rose to power saying that Donald Trump is America's Hitler, and that he was the guy who said that. And so he got a lot of support being, I'm the guy from Appalachia who calls out Donald Trump, and Trump's going to kill everybody in Appalachia. And then he goes, I'm actually a big Trumper. I'm never the never Trump guy. These people, you go through Treasury Secretary Bessent. Look at all the Lutnick, all these people's, their common thread, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK. The only commonality, the only consistency is their inconsistency and fraud. RFK Jr. could be the guy who leads the movement against glyphosate. That was his thing, going against the glyphosate pesticide. That was one of his big come-ups with Maha. Then he's literally the guy who's pro-glyphosate, who wants to make it the preferred pesticide and herbicide of the United States government, and says, no, that's what we really wanted the whole time.
By the way, did you see about glyphosate today? They said that they're going to spray it across the 850,000 acre Lake Tahoe National Forest. I mean, this was like their whole big thing. The reason why, and this goes back to what I was saying before about the union workers and the Muslims for Trump and the pro-Israel for Trump and the auto workers for Trump and that whole list. It's that like the Maha moms, the Make America Healthy Again mom, the people who were like, oh, well, he's going to get RFK in there and they're going to be great on health and wellness and da-da-da-da-da. Well, now he's like spraying all of our crops and all of our forests, our national forests, with glyphosate, which was like your main cause de celebre. So like, I don't even... like at some point you just have to realize, and it's okay. It's okay if you got tricked. As Ben said, some of these people could be very convincing and you could have been, down the rabbit hole, quite a bit. But, at a certain point, I think when the evidence piles up, you got to acknowledge that the pool is green. Okay. Like you have to acknowledge the pool is green. I have to admit it. And I have to just come to terms with it. And in the Middle East right now, I think also, you obviously have a lot of people, and I'm not going to say really any of these folks in the region are necessarily good actors. There are a lot of bad actors going on, but it's going to take people to step up. It's going to take people to step up and say, I am not going to continue hostilities. I'm not going to continue attacking, and let other people be the bad guy, right? If you're Israel, stop bombing Lebanon. If Hezbollah bombs you, that's another thing. But if you keep doing this back and forth, tit for tat, it's going to go on forever. It's going to go on for another 1,000 years, because they're going to say, well, they attacked you because you attacked them, and you attacked them because they attacked you. If you're Iran, don't attack anyone else in the region. If you're Lebanon, don't attack anyone. Just stop it. just quit it. And if my only hope possibly, if anything could possibly, and like I said, hope is not a strategy, but my one hope is that people could just chill for a second over there and understand, like take this opportunity, take this rare opportunity, take this mess, this chaos, this destruction, this horrific situation, and try to turn something good out of it. Like if you can, for the benefit of your own countries, for the benefit of the world. Like the people are sick of this crap. They truly are sick of this crap, and they're sick of these duplicitous leaders constantly lying us into these conflicts.
I'm going to toss it over to Jordy, but look, since the reported Gaza ceasefire from, what was it, last October, over 1,000 people have died. And most of those 1,000 people are innocent people, mothers and children and other people like that. That is, to say unacceptable does not, there's no words to describe just how horrific that is. That's not something that can be done. There needs to be a two-state solution. That's what everybody should be working to every single day, and recognizing Palestine, and that needs to happen. You know, there's been 3,000, 4,000 plus deaths in Lebanon. Again, medics, hospitals, mothers, kids. And then I don't want to be gaslit. Oh, that didn't happen. That's not real. That's real. Those are real. Those are real videos. Those are real people.
Or we killed those little girls, but guess what? They were near a military base, so it's their fault. Guess what? We have schools on military bases, hundreds of them throughout the United States of America. I think you'd be pretty pissed off if a foreign country came in here and bombed a school because it was adjacent to or on a military base. It's unacceptable. You can't bomb, frankly, as Trump said in the past week, you can't bomb a whole apartment building because you're trying to get one guy who you think is part of Hezbollah. You can't do that. You're killing a lot of innocent people. This is not how the world is supposed to work. These are war crimes. These are genocidal actions. It's not okay. It's not okay. And you should be able to say that, whether you hate Trump, whether you're for Trump, whatever, and the way you perceive the world should not be built around what some random other person believes. If Trump says one thing one day to these Trump supporters and they say, and then all of his supporters just parrot what he says, and then he says the opposite thing and they parrot what he says again, you've given up your agency. You've given up your entire ability, your entire worldview, your entire ability to think for yourself. And you have to think for yourself. You have to have a core of values and principles and let that be your guide every day. That has to be your guide, not individuals who lie to you and change their mind and change what they say. Enough of that. And that goes for all sides of the aisle. Don't put your faith in politicians. Put your faith in ideas. Have strong principles, have strong values, and follow them.
Notice how when JD was being critical of Israel too, he didn't go all in, right? He did what so many right-wing influencers here in the States do when they want to try and criticize Donald Trump. What do? It's never Trump's fault. It's Trump's cabinets, or it's the people around Trump. The people around Trump are really messing up. That's what JD said. He said, no, not Bibi. It's Bibi's cabinet. Bibi's cabinet has to learn. Bibi's cabinet needs to figure this out. It's a very interesting thing when you see
it's funny, Jordy, because that reminds me, I saw a quote from, I think it was like an unnamed Republican. So brave. There was a congressional reporter, and I'm unfortunately forgetting who it was, but they interviewed an anonymous Republican about the MOU, who was like, this is a disaster. I can't believe JD Vance did this. The president isn't getting good advice from his vice president. They did that whole shtick that you're talking about, but the White House was actually pissed off by it. And so here they probably thought this was their way of circumventing getting Trump annoyed. But then the rapid response of the White House account, or they responded to the report and they were like, how dare you say that, the president was not behind this historic And so it's funny watching them even, try that and then it backfiring. But, that's the situation of that party right now. It really is a party in chaos and a party in crisis. And they don't quite know who they are at this point.
Which leaves me with, I think, a great way to sum up this episode and what we've been talking about. And it's frankly how the MeidasTouch network started. It was one of our very, very first videos we ever made, and it was called Trump the Snake, because everything with Trump was projection and confession. And we saw Trump would tell the story on the campaign trail about letting a snake in, and a woman let the snake in.
I'll say this little years. If you remember Trump the Snake, just throw snake emojis in the chat. I want to see the OGs right now.
Yeah, and Trump would act like letting immigrants in is like letting the snake in. They may seem vulnerable and helpful, but then they'll kill you, is basically what he said. And our point was, no, Trump is the snake. Don't you get it? Why do you think he's obsessed with this story? He's telling on himself like he always does. And we were talking about this 6 years ago. And this is, I think, a perfect way to end this episode, because this has been our theme. He is the snake that you let in, not you, but that this group let in, that group let in, and you all thought that you were whatever, and that this snake was going to fight. But no, he's going to bite you, no matter who you are. And so the only way to deal with it is to recognize it, is to stand for something. It's to be reliable and consistent, stand on values and principles, and you gotta oppose the snake. You really do, and you gotta stand for values. You gotta stand for dignity, and you gotta stand for people and supporting people and peace. That should be a drive. Why else are we here for this short period of time on earth? To kill each other and to have war and to make this short time shorter? No, or is it to help leave this a better place for other people? Try to contribute. That's what it's all about. So without further ado, this was a video we did 6 years ago called Trump the Snake. Let's play it.
Who has heard the poem called The Snake?
My father gave me a small loan of $1 million.
Well-documented and severe financial downturn in the past year.
You know about sexual predators and things like that. I mean,
you are one.
All right.
And it's more than anger, it's hatred. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
Down the path, along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen steak. You'll absolutely love Trump steaks.
More than 150 former students allege Trump University was a fraud.
Persistently illegal conduct at the president's charity.
Take me in, oh tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman. Sigh the vicious.
Would you denounce what happened in 2016?
President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today.
He withheld the money, he withheld the meeting, he used it to coerce Ukraine to do these political investigations.
The American embassy in Baghdad under siege.
She stroked his pretty skin again and held him tight.
The Chinese government awarded Ivanka Trump's brand 7 new trademarks.
They're a pack of grifters. His campaign manager's got 2 condos, a Ferrari, a yacht. They're all just fleecing the campaign.
That snake gave her a vicious bite.
The coronavirus. This is their new hoax.
The U.S. now leading the world in deaths.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
This is a great success story.
I have saved you, cried the woman. And you've bitten me, heavens why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die.
We want to terminate health care. Right, and then I see the disinfectant.
Shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty.
The Midas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.